As you said earlier, Peter, the Broncos are receiving plenty of trust and faith from 345 Park Avenue that they are going to be pretty good this year. And a lot of primetime games, a lot of big platform games. And when you take a team that seems to be on the rise already and you throw in a proven winner at quarterback, their trust is not misplaced.
Hey, look, the interesting thing about the Denver schedule that I thought is it really isn't, it's tough early, okay, but it isn't a killer. Like the NFL is saying to them, hey, look, we're going to try our best to get you guys off to a hot start so that you can play some huge national games in the first 6 weeks of the season. Because look at it. You know, Denver ought to beat Seattle. They ought to beat the Texans at home. And then 3 of the next 4 games are on a national stage. So to me, I think what they've done with Denver is that they've allowed them a runway. You know, there's no guarantees. They've allowed them a runway to get off to a hot start so that they will become however many national teams there are in the league, 10, 12, whatever, the next national team that the NFL has been looking for.
I'm not a big proponent of determining schedule difficulty this year based on record last year. I know that's a thing. I don't think it's relevant because every year is different. When you have 50% turnover in your postseason field, that underscores every year is different.
It shouldn't be overly relevant, but it's relevant.
However, the Chiefs, for the first time ever, they start the season with 8 games. No team's ever done this. 8 games against teams that had a winning record the prior season. And look, they're going to play those teams anyway. But to have them all clustered, and this is something Sims and I talk about all the time. You get some cupcakes early, it creates the vibe for your season. You get some tough opponents early and you lose some games and you find yourself chasing 500 or chasing that leader in your division or trying to get the 1 seed, or the 1 seed's gone because you had too many tough games early. But look at that. The first 7 weeks, then they have a bye, then they have the Titans. That entirety of the left-hand side of their schedule is against teams that had winning records in 2021. That's never happened before.
The first thing I noticed about their schedule is that this team is going to get home from Phoenix at midnight or 1 o'clock after their first game. And then the coaches are going to stumble off the plane, and they're going to go right into their offices at 1 o'clock in the morning and continue to prepare the game plan for a short week Thursday night game against the Chargers, which, by the way, has become a little bit of kryptonite for the Chiefs. Not necessarily that they lose to them all the time. Every time they play the Chargers, it's a death cage match, whatever that thing is in wrestling. You know, it's one of the toughest games they have on their schedule every year. Now, the only advantage that I see to Kansas City's schedule, and it's almost damning with faint praise. But if you look at their schedule, the last quartile of their schedule, okay, it is not, the last game is going to be really tough. But Texans, Seahawks, and whatever the Broncos are, especially the Texans and Seahawks, that allows them a little bit to get well before the playoffs, you would think. But this is really, really a tough schedule. You pointed out with the first 8 games against teams that had winning records last year, but it is pockmarked throughout. How about you think you get a little breather? Ah, boy, we got the Jaguars. And then at the Chargers, and then you play the 2 Super Bowl teams in a span of 8 days. It's just, look, Kansas City had a tough schedule no matter how it fell. This is really going to be a challenge for them.
And, the reality is that there isn't much deviation in the schedule. Now, the 17th game creates a situation where if you won the division, you play a division winner from the other conference and so on. So there is baked in some advantage and disadvantage. But, in the AFC West, when they are highly competitive and they're packed together, first place schedule for the Chiefs versus fourth place schedule for the Broncos, that may be all the difference it takes for the Broncos to win the division. When you consider the murderer's row that the Chiefs have, it's not quite so murdery for the Broncos. That could be the edge that Denver and Russell Wilson may need, Peter.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.